You're not afraid to work hard.
Never give up.
Never compromise.
And the best dads always look for ways to get better.
I'm looking for something to energize me.
I'm looking for something to push me further.
And I'm looking for something to go with these nachos.
Dad Fuel, the energy drink designed just for dads.
So I can finish the fight.
So I can finish the race.
So I can finish mowing the lawn. And later on, I might watch some golf.
The fuel dads need to do the things dads do.
Climb the highest peak.
Go the furthest distance.
Check the scores. Read the newspaper. Give amazing relationship advice. Why are you crying? You should really talk to your mother about that.
Dad Fuel comes loaded with taurine, ginseng, and 100% of your daily recommended value of Hi Hungry, I'm Dad.
I start every morning with the 4 Ds. Devo's Donuts. Dad Fuel Down Blanket. Breakfast of Champions, baby.
Now available in 4 bold flavors: Original Orange, Grow Model Raspberry, Grow Master Mango, and I thought I told you to take out the garbage grape.
You can't touch my passion.
You can't touch my drive.
And you definitely can't touch my thermostat. No way.
So whether you're thirsty for victory
Or just plain thirsty. No, seriously, it's empty. Can I get another one?
Dad Fuel.
Because I am fearless.
Because I am unstoppable.
Because the players on TV aren't gonna yell at themselves. Come on! Throw the ball!
I think we need to invest in some dad fuel drinks around here. Happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Today's the day we're going to celebrate you, and we're just it's one of those days that I truly enjoy. Even with my dad passing, it's a day that I remember him, but also I get a chance to hang out with my kids, see the last minute gifts that they picked up for me, and just truly enjoy the day. But I'm so grateful for the dads back there. If you need another IBC root beer, you can go grab one of those. And please, Jamie's at a teaching conference, so please don't tell her I didn't use a coaster up here. We're just going to act like I have one. But we are excited to be part of today. I need to share with you, a couple weeks ago, this season I've been at tons and tons of baseball games. And so I was sitting there and we were watching a game, and my friend was sitting by me, and his friend that I didn't know was sitting there. And we're sitting at the game, and I look down and I see this, this guy, and normally people introduce, but they didn't introduce us, and it was fine. And we hear this, Dave, hey Dave. And the guy stands up and kind of looks over his shoulder back, and I'm like, okay. And he just kind of perplexed, sits back down, and we're sitting there, and again, about an inning later, I hear, Dave, hey Dave. And he stands up and he gives one of those looks like, what do you need? And I'm just like, okay, this guy back here is yelling, this guy, I don't know what's going on. I'm just staying in my lane. And he just throws his hands up, sits back down, and another inning goes by or so, and he's like, Dave, hey Dave. And he stands up, he's like, what do you want? And just starts like yelling at this guy. And I'm like, what's going on? And so I kind of look and is everything okay? And he's like, yeah, my name's not even Dave. So there's your dad joke for the day. I just had to throw that one in there because it truly does fit with what we're talking about. We're talking today about rooted and grounded, and we're talking about our lives and where God roots us and grounds us in Him. And when we grow into Him and we grow into the life that He has for us, how that just expands and how that just takes off, and how you are so much healthier when those storms of life hit. You are healthier to face those storms. You're healthier to walk through this life when we're truly rooted and grounded in a healthy way. And what we're talking about is Samuel today. And Samuel, you got to understand a few things about Samuel. First of all, the book 1st and 2nd Samuel are about him. And what we have going on is the Ark of the Covenant. That is what holds the 10 Commandments, and people are going to pray. And we're introduced to a lady by the name of Hannah. Hannah is unable to have kids of her own, and Hannah's just distraught. And she talks about her actually getting kind of made fun of and ridiculed for not being able to have kids of her own. So she's there and she's praying at the Ark of the Covenant, and she's praying and she's just like, God, this isn't fair. Please give me a son. Please give me a child. If you give me a child, I promise this child will honor you. and she runs across Eli, the priest. And Eli's sitting there, and he hears her, and he's brokenhearted for her because she sees this passion. So he prays too for her. And Hannah just continues that prayer of, God, just give me my heart's desire. In that brokenness of watching, and I understand, and I've had many friends that are close friends of ours that have had trouble having kids, and it's that struggle. We celebrate, Mother's and Father's Day, but it truly is this struggle because some people just aren't able to, and for whatever reason. And Hannah's one of those people, and she prays and she prays and she prays, and Eli prays over her, and then this miracle happens, and she has a son, and the son is Samuel, and so Samuel's born, and she takes care of him the first couple of years, and she goes back as Samuel's 5. And she takes him back and introduces him to Eli. And because she said, I'm here to fulfill the promise that I made, that my son will honor, and she leaves her son to be with Eli. And you got to understand, there's all sorts of stuff going on here now. Eli is the priest, and God really has turned his back on Israel at this point. Of everything that's going on, God has turned his back, and he's really, really struggled with, hearing from God because they're doing things that they shouldn't have. Eli's sons are just evil, evil guys, and he has this struggle. So he continues to invest into Samuel, and around the age of 12, something unique happens. Samuel's in his room sleeping, and he hears Samuel. And he wakes up and he comes running into Eli's room and he says, yes, what do you need? And Eli's like, I didn't call you. I don't know what you're talking about. And he goes back to his room and it says it happens 3 times where he comes running to Eli and says, what is it that you're calling? And he's like, I'm not the one calling you. But Eli realizes it's God. And he says to him here in 1 Samuel 3, 9 and 10, therefore Eli said to Samuel, go lie down, and if he calls you, you shall say, speak, Lord, for I am your servant, for your servant hears. So Samuel went and laid down in his place, and the Lord came and stood, calling as at the other times, Samuel, Samuel. And Samuel said, speak, for your servant hears. The power that I'm going to just pause right there, and you can leave that up for a second. The power of that calling in that entire part is so amazing to me. And it's that entire story of, right, like God is calling us to something more. God is calling us to grow our roots deeper. God is calling us to so much more in this life that we just haven't leaned into. And it's a struggle that we have. It's a struggle I have as a Christian, to lean into truly what is it, and to say, God, what is it that you have? I'm here. I'm listening. What is it that you would have for me? And truly living a faith story of leaning into God and going, what do you have? Because I'm listening. I'm ready. I'm wanting more of you, God. So whatever it is. So I'm going to back up a little bit here to 1 Samuel 2:2. In the next part here. This is part of the prayer that Hannah, before she even had Samuel, that she prayed. There is none holy like the Lord, for there is none beside you. There is no rock like our God. Hannah, in her tears, in her moment of just complete brokenness, she just prays and realizing she's not getting what she's wanted. She wants a kid so badly. She's getting ridiculed for not having kids. She just has this horrible life. She feels like her life's not complete. And in those tears, she prays that right there. There is none holy like you, Lord, for there is none beside you. There is no rock like our God. I am trusting God that I know I want to have kids, but if I can't have kids, okay, there is nobody like you, God. I am going to lean so far into you. And Samuel saw that in his mom, and he saw that with Eli, and so many amazing things happened because as Samuel grew, it continued to grow. His faith. God continued to tell Samuel, as that verse continues, that Eli and his sons are so evil and destruction will happen. But Samuel, if you follow me, good things will happen. And God did these amazing things. He brought back Israel through Samuel. He was a prophet that spoke to so many people. All because of his mother's prayer, all because his willingness to say, God, what is it that you have? So when I look at my parents, I know I went out of order here, Brian, so I apologize. If you can put the picture up of my father-in-law and my dad. My dad was the guy that knew everybody. My father-in-law is the guy that knows everybody in Sanford. So really, like, my dad knew everybody north of here. My father-in-law knows everybody here. So, like, this is a picture that I found on Facebook that just reiterates both of them together. Because I'm pretty sure the conversation was, who is that? Who's his kid? Who's his grandkid? Who's his grandfather? Who's his great-grandfather? And the conversation must have been something along this line of how we know everybody and how small the world really is. Because that's what I grew up with my dad. That's what my dad did. He pointed out to, like, if we saw somebody, he's like, oh yeah, you know them. No, I don't. Well, you know, your fourth cousin once dated them. Sorry, Dad, I don't. But he's just like me. He couldn't come up with a name. He could tell you the entire backstory and lineage of everything, right? Like, the plethora of knowledge that they have is so amazing. And it was about the relationships. It was about pouring into those relationships. It's about those conversations that you have at a gas station. It's about those conversations that you have different places. It's about what God is working through you in those stories. So truly to be rooted and grounded, there's many different aspects that we need to be. But it talks about the fact that we're going to talk about some of these, of being in the Word and how important it is to be in the Scripture. It talks about how it's important to be in prayer and how that's so important. But today we're focusing on the importance of being with other Christians, the importance of relationships, the importance of being known by somebody, right? Like, there is nothing better, at least in my, like, I am an introvert / extrovert. People think I'm an extrovert, but I'm really an introvert. So I'll walk into a restaurant, and my wife will make fun of me because I will walk in looking for somebody I know. Even if I'm not going to talk to them, I just need to know that I know somebody there. I need that connection. I need the other person to go, it's going to be okay. I got invited to, in a month and a half from now, I got invited to hang out with a bunch of ex-Detroit Lions. And I was sitting there, and one of the conversations that I had was, okay, who do I know that's going to be there? And who can I bring that can also be part of that? Because as much fun as, if you know me, I geek out on like 80s and 90s Detroit Lions. And if you ever want to just like randomly mention a number, I'll tell you what year they played and who it was. Like, I'm so excited for this chance to hang out with a bunch of ex-Detroit Lions. But even in the midst of that excitement, I needed other people around, right? Like, when I first got invited, I said, can I bring my wife? Like, I needed somebody with me. One, because Jamie will stop me from being too much of a geek and being like, oh, you're so-and-so. You had 4 interceptions against whatever. And, you know, like, so I don't I'm going to embarrass myself anyways, so it's hopeless. But right, like, we look for other Christians. We look for other people. We want those people. The same thing that we see with little kids in school where they want other people to be in their corner, we need that as adults. We crave that as adults, to realize that I'm going to be okay, that I can walk through this. We need other Christians for understanding. We need to be able to talk things back and forth. Some of my favorite conversations with people in this room and friends of mine is to have that understanding, right? Like, to have that phone call, to pick up that phone call and say, am I far off here? What have I done wrong? The second one that we look for other Christians is for correction. Whether we like it or not, we thrive off of being friends with each other and in a loving way sharing with somebody, hey, this is how you've fallen short. This is how we need to be better. This is how we need to grow more, right? Just like Hannah left and her son Samuel with Eli was for that correction, for that moments of growing up so that he could become a man of God. And the last one is for advice. We seek out advice from friends, right? To sit. And again, I look around the room and I think of multiple conversations with a lot of people in this room that I've had where hopefully I've been able to provide advice for you, but many people in this room have provided advice for me. When situations came up, and to say, hey, you know, right? Like, there's that easy, like, well, have you prayed about it? Yes, of course I've prayed about it, but it doesn't really help right now. I need to have a conversation. I need that advice. And for people to walk through seasons of life that we've struggled with, or seasons of life that we're going through. Right? Like in those moments, and right, we had one even yesterday, the moments where I'm complaining about sitting in the baking hot sun and watching sports for my kids again and again and again. Somebody came and said, hey, enjoy it because it's going to go by way too quick. And so I sat there and I leaned back in the chair during Jackson's game as I didn't realize this little tan, I burned right here in one stripe. Like, I sat there and I just went, God, how great is this? I get to watch my kid do something he loves. I needed that bit of advice to realize that it's not just another day. It's a day to celebrate. It's a day to enjoy watching my kid do what he does and love those very moments. It's a moment to sit there and a couple weeks ago watching my daughter in a pageant and watching her talent and just watching her grow, like that dad moment where you sit there and you get teary-eyed. I'm the only dad, I'm sure no other dad has ever got teary-eyed watching their kid do something, right? But you're watching your kid do something that they're passionate about. You're watching their kid do something that, and you're just like, in my head, she's still that baby the day at the hospital, and now she's doing all these wonderful things. And watching that growth, you have those moments, and I understand that not all of us have the perfect situation with the perfect dad or any of that stuff, but God leans into that, and he provides other Christians to walk through this life with. So if we're truly going to be rooted and grounded, it's doing life together. We share that all the time. It's one of the principles here at One Church is we do life together. We walk through situations together. We're there for each other. We're there for the good times, we're there for the bad times, and we're there for all the times in between. As Jamie says, all the stupid times. I feel like that's kind of an attack at me, right? Like the middle times, all those times that we just do something so absurd or so dumb because it's meant to be fun. All of those times are growing together. So if we're truly going to be rooted and grounded and growing that, we're going to seek out those other Christians for those three things. For the understanding, for the correction, and for the advice. And I want to tell you right now, one of the biggest downfalls that we run into as Christians is we have this mentality as Christians that we feel like we have to dive into ourselves. And we have to go, okay, I'm struggling in my faith, so I need to be around other Christians. And that's where the church fails. The church fails when we just look innerly at ourselves, or however you want to say that, right? Like we have to look outside of these walls. We have to look outside of what God is doing. And we have to look at all those other Christians. When I was about 9th or 10th grade. I went to this thing called Acquire the Fire. And I remember hearing the speaker talk about your faith, and he talked similar to this, about your relationships with other people and how having healthy relationships. And his take-home point to all of us was, he said, when you go home, you need to step away from all your non-Christian friends. You need to not hang out with them. You need to not associate with them. And I remember just sitting there going, that's not right. Like, and I can tell you as a 15, 16-year-old kid, I went, wait, what? And like, we had this long conversation with our youth pastor. We had this conversation about what it was going to look like. And our youth pastor said, no. Let's not jump off the deep end and, go back to Beaverton and say, I can't be your friend. I can't be your friend. I can't be you. I can be your friend with, right? Like you need to have these healthy relationships, and you need to have those where you lean into it. So it's okay to hang out with other people. So Jenna shared this on Facebook a couple weeks ago, and I want to share it with all of you because I thought it was such a fitting thing about relationships and what Jesus taught us. Yes, Jesus hung out with prostitutes, drunkards, and outcasts. Here's the thing, though. By the time Jesus was finished with these people, they weren't prostitutes or drunkards or outcasts anymore. Jesus came to transform people, not indulge them. Christianity is about surrender, not comfort. We are to align ourselves with his standards, not the other way around. So my question, not only do we seek out other Christians, do we seek out, people to help us with those three things again, the understanding, the correction, and the advice, but are we being that for other people? Are we helping be that? So the dangerous one in there is that correction, right? Like I don't get to go and be like, Missy, let me tell you all the ways you're messing up this week. Do you got about an hour? No, I'm just, right? Like I don't get to do that. The correction happens through friendship, through conversation, through relationship. And when we do that, we grow. So my hope, my challenge for us is that we as a church are truly rooted and grounded in our relationships. We help spur each other on. We help lean into each other when relationships happen, when we find that connection, right? It comes back to, again, my dad could find that connection anywhere. We could be in the middle of anywhere, and my dad would find a way that he knew somebody that knew somebody that knew that person. We have to be that as Christ. We need to grow our roots so deep. And we have to be like Samuel and say, okay, I'm listening. What is it, God, that you would have? How can I invest? How can I pour into this person? So my take-home point, if nothing else, I want you to know we need to find people that will point you to God. You need to find people that will point you to God. So in the middle of this Rooted and Grounded series and being Father's Day, and, well, I'm the pastor, I can do pretty much whatever I want. No, I'm just kidding. I really wanted to share with you, because one of my proud moments, and it really, truly, before Isabel even knew that we're going to talk about Rooted and Grounded, she shared with her pageant, with her monologue, and I asked her to share because it really, truly speaks to me, and she loves me for this. It really speaks to me the fact of being rooted and grounded in understanding that God has something more for us. So will you share your monologue with us all?
I don't know why I do a lot of things lately. I bet you think that too, right? It's because we don't think, we just do. We don't take a step back and process. Everything is so instant these days. How can we dinner in minutes, 1,000 photographs in one burst? You have to like something this instant. You have to know how you feel about everything. You can't be unsure, confused, or change your mind. There is no time to figure out who you are. You have to know right now. Have you ever seen a flower grow? I mean, of course not. It's nearly impossible to wait for anything that takes that long. But if you did, it would change you. It would slow you down. It would remind you that real things take time. And it's magic too, isn't it? I mean, but so are 1,000 photographs in one burst. But a flower, you plant a seed in the ground, and a whole world develops and stretches out and opens up. It's easy to get confused and to think we're doing the right thing when we're really not. But if we're lucky, we can find a balance. We could take a step back and take a breath. Next time that you see a flower sticking up out of the ground or in a vase, just remember what made that flower so beautiful is how long it took to grow.
And that's truly being rooted and grounded, right? Like, if we're going to lean into relationships, it's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen instantaneously, right? The world we live in wants that instantaneous, right? We want to see somebody and say, okay, now we're best friends. And it takes time to build that up. It takes a relationship with God isn't going to change overnight. You're going to grow. You're going to grow, and you're going to look back and you're going to say, look at how far I've come. And I can tell you as the pastor on this side of this, I see that in so many of you. I see the relationships, I see your growth in God. And I look back and I go, I wish you could see how far you've come. I wish you could see how all of the things God is doing in your life. So I'm going to encourage you to find a way this week. Part of that Rooted and Grounded is the summer homework. I'm going to encourage you. We have a group reading through the Bible in a year. On Tuesdays, there's a group that meets that discusses that. On Thursdays, the Devoted Wanderers Isabel and I checked it out last week. It's fun to just walk around Emerson Park. You get a little devotion before you do it, and you get a chance to just talk to people. And I got a chance to share conversations with people this past week, and it was enjoyable. It was fun. It meant so much, plus I got my steps in. It was a wonderful way to lean into that. But if neither of those really work out for you, then my homework for you is reach out to somebody this week. Just say, hey, can we go grab ice cream together? Can we go grab a coffee together? Can we go just hang out and talk? Can I share? Can we have those moments of understanding? Can we have those moments where maybe I'm just going through something and maybe they have advice? Maybe it's somebody that has already went through the season that you're currently in. Just reach out to somebody. Grow in those relationships. Let those roots grow so deep so that you're ready when God says, hey, I have something for you. And you go, I'm listening. What is it, God? What is the most ridiculous thing in the world? I got it, God, because you have shown over and over again. Pray with me, won't you? Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for today. We thank you for a chance to just come and worship you. We thank you for a day to celebrate the fathers here, the dads, the people that have invested, that have poured time into us, and the dads that have invested in our kids And it takes a village to do that. It takes a community to do that. And thank you, God, so much for those people that invested in me as a kid, invested in me currently, and those that invest in my own kids. Thank you for those moments of teaching, those moments of advice, those moments of correction, those moments that you were there when we needed you most. God, we continue to ask you that you watch over us, watch our steps, watch our relationships, that they may be honoring and glorifying to you. It's in your name we pray. Amen.